So let's play a little what-if game. Imagine the Buddha is born again, but not in some palace back in ancient India. No. Imagine he's born in 2026.
Just really think about that for a second. Forget the ancient royalty, the stone walls. We're talking about a world of constant connection and, perfectly engineered desire. I mean, picture this. He grows up with Wi-Fi from the moment he's born. He gets a smartphone in his hand by age 12. He's got a social media profile at 14. His entire reality is this relentless, endless stream of notifications and AI feeds that are literally designed to predict and shape his every single want. So that leads us to the big question, right? In a world that is built from the ground up to distract us, would he still awaken? Or would he just get stuck scrolling like so many of us? And maybe more importantly, if he did manage to find a path to detachment in our world, what would that path look like, and how can we use it?
To even start to answer that, we've got to understand the modern version of this palace. Because, let's be real, we are all living inside a kind of palace today. Only this one isn't built to protect us from suffering, but to distract us from it.
I mean, the parallels are pretty wild when you think about it. Those physical walls of Siddhartha's palace, they've been replaced by the psychological comfort of our devices. And his servants, the ones who brought him anything he wanted, well, that's just our on-demand apps for food, for rides, for everything. Royal luxuries have become this infinite stream of digital entertainment.
And yet, here's the crazy part. Despite having more comfort and convenience than pretty much any generation in human history, there's this deep sense of dissatisfaction that just won't go away. Anxiety is going up, loneliness is spreading, and there's this feeling of emptiness that a lot of us feel. It is a different kind of palace for sure, but it produces the same fundamental unease. So, in the original story, Siddhartha's awakening was kicked off by the foresights. Today, he wouldn't even need to leave the palace to see suffering. It would be all over his feed. Instead of old age, he'd see mass burnout. Instead of sickness, he'd see epidemic levels of depression. Instead of death, he'd see the kind of living death of digital addiction. And that wandering ascetic, the one who showed him there was another way? Today, that would be that rare person who has consciously unplugged and found a sense of actual, genuine peace. So the question that would just haunt him wouldn't be, why do people suffer from not having enough? No. It would be the central puzzle of our time. Why are people so miserable when it looks like they have everything they could ever possibly want?
And to answer that, a modern Buddha wouldn't just turn to philosophy, he'd have to look at our biology. So let's dive into how our brains have been hijacked.
This is such a profound shift in thinking. The source of our unease today isn't just some abstract problem. It has a real physical basis in our neurology. Our brains are being constantly overstimulated and literally rewired by our digital world. The Buddha identified the root cause of all suffering as tanha. It's that deep, that insatiable thirst for more. More pleasure, more validation, more stimulation. It's the engine that drives us to feel dissatisfied.
But here's the massive difference. Today, that natural human tendency to crave isn't just a personal weakness anymore. It is an entire business model. We're talking multi-billion-dollar industries built specifically to find, amplify, and then monetize that feeling of tahan inside every single one of us.
And the results of this industrialized craving? Well, they're all around us, aren't they? Our nervous systems were just never designed for this level of input. This constant, chronic stimulation leads directly to anxiety, to the fracturing of our ability to focus, to a nonstop roller coaster of emotional dysregulation, and for so many, a deep, deep sense of existential emptiness.
So what would a modern Buddha's solution be? It's so tempting to think he'd just, smash his phone and run away from the world. But the real insight is way more subtle and way more powerful. It's not about the technology. It's all about our attachment to it. I mean, you can almost picture him scrolling through Instagram for the very first time, having this little light bulb moment and just thinking to himself, I get it. This is just the same old ego, but with much, much better lighting and filters. He'd see right through the performance of it all.
Because this is the core teaching. It was true then, and is true now. The object itself is not the problem.
A phone is neutral. Money is neutral. Success is neutral. The suffering comes from our desperate clinging to these things, our attachment to them for our sense of who we are.
You know, it's funny. Modern psychology actually has a name for this. It's called cognitive fusion. It's that state where we become so tangled up with our thoughts, with our online image, our job title, or our metrics, that we actually believe we are those things. You don't suffer because you have a social media profile. You suffer when you believe your self-worth is the number of likes on that profile.
So, if smashing the phone isn't the answer, then what is? What would the path to peace actually look like in our world? It wouldn't be about extreme renunciation. It would be all about conscious engagement.
Okay, so here's what that modern eightfold upgrade might actually look like. First up, digital mindfulness. Basically, using tech as a tool and not letting it use you. Second, nervous system regulation. Actively carving out moments of daily silence to let your brain reset. Third, identity separation. Consciously remembering you are not your metrics, not your followers, not your productivity score. Fourth, voluntary discomfort. Training your mind to tolerate hard things, because that weakens the power of craving. And finally, service over self-obsession. Shifting your focus from how am I being perceived to how can I actually help.
And all of this, it brings us to the final and honestly the most important idea. The real journey isn't about changing the chaotic world outside of you. It's about cultivating a peaceful world inside of you.
This is probably the key metaphor for our age. Siddhartha had to physically leave his palace and go into the forest to find clarity. For us, that forest isn't a place we go to. It's a state we cultivate within our own minds. The ability to find stillness in the middle of all the noise. That is the modern wilderness.
And listen, this isn't some abstract, mystical concept. Detachment is neurological retraining. Every single time you feel that pull to check your phone, and you consciously choose not to, you are literally rewiring your brain. You are weakening old neural pathways of reactivity and strengthening new ones of awareness. It is a workout for your mind.
So in the end, the question isn't some historical game of what would Buddha do? The real question is a direct challenge to you right now. The very next time you feel that itch, that craving to scroll, to check, to react, can you just notice it? Can you observe that feeling for just 1 single second before you act on it?
Because that is where the whole practice begins. Not in some faraway monastery, but in that tiny, precious little space between a stimulus and your response. Your awakening doesn't have to wait for a different time or a different place. It starts right now.